Hello and good day everyone. I am Garner Gajete Jr. and today we're going to talk about or discuss about the Osgood-Schromm model of communication. So this report has two parts. Number one is what is the application or implication of the Osgood-Schromm model of communication, and number two is what is its implication in our practical lives. So let's move on. So as we all know, the Osgood-Schromm model of communication is also a two-way process of communication, wherein the communication is dynamic because both the sender and the receiver can simultaneously switch to become the sender and the receiver. So it is not a linear process of communication, but a two-way nature of communication. So the Osgood-Schromm model of communication is also vital or very important in nursing. So as we can see, there are interpersonal nature of nursing, as we know that it revolves around the trust, the communication of the nurses and the patients between each other, the nurse to doctor and patients that are essential for their healing. So number one is the nurse-patient communication or the nurse-to-patient communication. And it emphasizes the interaction or the importance of interaction between the nurse and the patient because they both talk to each other. So for example, the nurse assesses the patient's condition. The nurse will then tell what the condition of the patient is, and depending on the situation, the patient would also react and also inquire the nurse further about his or her condition. So also the nurses must listen carefully to the patient's concerns and understand their body language. Of course, we have the body language that is also essential to understand what the patient is trying to communicate to the nurse. And next is it's also effective two-way of communication because it ensures patients can understand and ask questions, whether it is their conditions or their any inquiries that they can ask. So it also improves the patient outcomes depending on how they communicate. Of course, a great deal of their healing or a great deal of their recovery depends on how the nurses also communicate to them. And then we talk about the nurse healthcare team communication. So this involves the nurses to nurses communication or nurse to doctor communication, and also their pharmacists and other healthcare professionals within the hospital. So the two-way nature of the Osgood-Schromm model, it helps us ensure that information flows freely and is clarified when needed, and it also reduces errors. So the next is the patient-centered care. So as we remember from the previous lessons that we have on our TFN subject, one of the vital aspects of nursing is to understand the emotional, psychological, and social aspect of patient care. And of course, nursing is always centered on how we care about our patient. And of course, when you care about your patient, you are being empathetic when it comes to listening, which is also critical for the holistic care and of course the recovery of the patients that we may have. And lastly, for part one is conflict resolution. So conflict resolution is resolving misunderstanding or conflicts between the nurses, be it patients or colleagues in the healthcare setting. So the Osgood-Schromm model of communication is very important when tackling about misunderstanding or conflicts in the nursing workplace. And also nursing leadership. So we must engage in meaningful dialogues with the staff or with the patient, ensuring that instructions are not only given but also understood. And we now go to the part 2 of our report, which is the relevance of the model in our daily personal life. So we might also relate a scenario or experience to illustrate our answer. So these are the relevance of the Osgood-Schromm model in our daily life. So beginning with our homes, our personal homes, of course, we have our family conversation, we have also conflicts, we express our feelings, we listen and clarify misunderstandings. And of course, that is always been happening to us daily in our homes. And of course, when we go out, we meet friends. So, how do we maintain our friendships? Of course, we always offer support, we console them when they are sharing their problems with us, and we support them in times of their troubles. And lastly is social media interactions, which is very common in our contemporary world right now. So we have our own group chats where we tackle or sometimes debate about the issues. Sometimes we talk about our concerns, and this is a type of Osgood-Schromm communication model that is very relevant in our daily lives.